How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Fame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today, it's not a live stream, unfortunately. My internet's not been as great, but we are going to be doing a video for it. We're going to be doing basically in the exact same format as we did the previous stream. We'll try to condense it a little bit. There won't be as much involvement in the chat, but we will be trying to at least, shorten it down a little bit and still get you the crucial information that we're potentially looking for this game week. A lot to discuss. We're going to talk about all the teams and all the fixtures in game week 1. See how our predictions did. Go for our predictions and differentials for game week 2. Any transfer plans and that sort of stuff. And potential game week 2 wild cards could be in play this coming game week. But without further ado, let's get into it. So we did really well this week. We played a bench boost, which got us 29 points. That's right, 29 points. We scored 107 points. We're ranked 563rd according to livefpl.net. If we put our lowest possible players on our bench would have still scored 13, if I got that correct. Let's see, 3 plus 3 is 6. Plus 5 is 11, plus 2 is 13. But I would have played Phil Foden, I would have played Luke Shaw, I would have played Foden, or Rashford, sorry, over all the players that I did play on the bench, and got ourselves a total of 29 points. So a very successful bench boost off the start. Now it's about getting rid of some of the kind of extra money on the bench if we can. Maybe we save a transfer going into next week. We shall see. But let's start with the goalkeeper. So Pickford, 2 points. I would have played him over Johnston. He had the home fixture. Pickford could have potentially got himself a clean sheet. I mean, Pickford and Leno both probably didn't deserve a clean sheet in the end of it, but we'll talk about more about that when we get to the games. A bit disappointed, but it is what it is. Luke Shaw, 5 points, clean sheet, yellow card. Again, we take those. Those who had Varane or Wan-Bissaka, well done. Estupinian, 7 points. Everyone really has him, but did quite well. Probably will go up in price, maybe. Although he is still fairly highly owned, over 50%. So the likelihood is he will probably just kind of sit there. Saliba, this was actually a tip on Let's Talk FPL stream. This is Andy. Let's Talk FPL. He basically had a tip just before, a few minutes before the deadline on Friday, that Gabriel was potentially not going to be involved. And he did actually end up coming on and getting 1 point. Saliba getting himself a return. Got himself 5 points. So in the end, not the biggest differential, but still picked up a few extra points there. Phil Foden, someone who I put in my team once I found out that he was starting. Originally, the players I had in my team, instead of Phil Foden, I had Eze, who ended up getting the same score. I also had John Stones, who wasn't involved at all, so that would have definitely been bad. But I also had Andre Onana in goal, and I had 0.5 million in the bank. So Onana would have netted me, I think Onana ended up with 9 points. So that would have been 7 points total. But instead of Chilwell, I would have had Stones. So I would have only actually gained 2 points on it, but I would have to make potentially a transfer. So swings and roundabouts there. Looks much better that way. Matombo, 5 points. Perfectly fine. Rashford, just 3 points, same as Bruno Fernandes. Martinelli got himself an assist. Saka got himself a goal. João Pedro getting another penalty, getting a bonus point. Very nice. Erling Haaland, just doing what Erling Haaland does, basically. Nothing really to be said there. And then on the bench, double clean sheet from Palace, 3 points from Joachim Andersen. We love that. Solanke getting a fairly jammy goal, but we take those as well, and a bonus point. And Chilwell could have potentially had an absolute ridiculous score, but just the 7 points for him, so we take those as well. So 29 on the bench boost. Very high rank to start off with. We can only go downhill from here. I'm joking. We're going to try to see if we can keep it as long as we can. And if by the end of it, it doesn't work out, we'll see. But the bench boost game week 1 definitely worked out. Last season, I want to say I got around a 20-ish point score. And that was with all double game weekers. 29 points, I mean, I'm over the moon with that. 16 points I would have been very happy with. the double digits I would have been, content with. But 29 points is absolutely crazy on a bench boost. So we definitely take that. Let's move into our predictions, and we'll go through one by one here. We do these predictions every week on our preview streams. If you want to follow us along, we get 3 points basically for the correct score, 1 point for the correct result, 0 points anything else. So this was our tweet. We always post this over on Twitter or X or whatever Elon Musk is going to call it next week. This was the tweet here. So we predicted Man City to win 3-1 over Burnley, ended up being 3-0. Pretty much in this game, so we get the 1 point, by the way. Pretty much in this game, it was just City pretty much in control. Burnley playing quite defensive, trying to hit on the break. Erling Haaland is just ridiculous. I mean, if you haven't seen his second goal, I mean, it's just instinctive. Ball comes into the box, drops down to Alvarez, who just kind of touches it towards Haaland, and he just rails it off the crossbar and in. It's unstoppable. And then City got the third. Just really, really comfortable overall. In no real threat of basically conceding either. Pretty expected, to be honest. Burnley definitely improved from their previous kind of encounter with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. But overall, I think just any team that Erling Haaland... Basically, this is how the captaincy should go, for those that are thinking. If Erling Haaland is playing a team that is... if he's playing a team at home, you probably want to consider captaining him, for sure. If he's playing a team at home that's probably very, very difficult or has a top 6 defense in the league, so like Newcastle this week, maybe you go someplace else, hence why a lot of managers might be going Salah. If Erling Haaland is playing a team that's going to be in the bottom half of the table away from home and their defense isn't very good, captain him. If Haaland's playing a team in the top half of the table and the defense isn't very good, like Spurs, who seem to be very adventurous, I would say, then probably just captain Erling Haaland, basically. It seems like it's going to be pretty formulaic as to when we should captain Haaland. I think this week you can definitely go against him. He is at home, so therefore that kind of ticks the criteria of, hey, look, Haaland at home, he should probably score. But Newcastle defensively are usually quite good. But Newcastle are probably just going to go to the frustrate. And Man City do have the Super Cup in between Game Week 1 and Game Week 2. They have that on Wednesday. They have to fly to, I want to say, Greece for that fixture versus Sevilla. Basically, it's a Champions League winner versus the Europa League winner in that one. So pretty interesting. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So that's why I would say hold off on your transfers, especially if they're Man City players. Probably hang back on those a bit. But overall, Man City quite comfortable. Arsenal versus Forest. I predicted 4-0. Thought Arsenal would absolutely smash them. In the end, it was actually quite competitive. It was quite close. Arsenal were pretty much in cruise control up until about the 60 to 70 minute mark. And then Forest kind of chucked on Awani. They chucked on Alanga. And then just on the break, straight down the other end and basically scored. So Arsenal doesn't seem to do well with basically like a battering ram type striker like Awani, who basically just blitzes through defenders and it's just massive, and he's just always in the right place to get the goal. And Alanga's pace definitely was able to exploit down that right hand side of Arsenal's defense. So that may be one to kind of keep an eye on. Ben White was caught a bit lacking, to be honest. He looked over his shoulder multiple times. Awani does make a great run in front of him to get the goal. Arsenal's 2 goals, I mean, Saka's was, I mean, basically, if you look at the XG, Forest, I think, had a 1.2 something XG, and Arsenal only had like a 0.8. Saka's goal was a very good goal. Nketiah's goal was a pretty decent as well. Saka's was from a decent bit of range. It might be a season where Arsenal kind of just spread the goals around again, and it's just about having a couple of them and just seeing what happens. Overall, I thought Arsenal were there to be got at, to be honest. And even at home, they seem to have had these woes in the second half of the season, especially after the World Cup. They just couldn't keep clean sheets. Now, that was with Gabriel in the team. That was with the likes of, Zinchenko or Tierney or whoever. Jurrien Timber also was injured in this one. I forgot to mention Kevin De Bruyne was also injured as well in the Man City fixture. He looks like he's going to be back to the same recovery time as what he was post Champions League with a hamstring injury. Jurrien Timber went down early-ish in the game, and then, or not early-ish, just before the end of the first half. Kind of limped around, waited till halftime, came out. First time he put weight on it, on his right knee, I believe it was, just crumpled like a piece of paper, and he just seemingly has done his ACL. That's what at least it looks like it's going to be. So he's going to be out for months, which is a big blow to Arsenal. Overall, though, I wouldn't be selling any Arsenal assets. I'd be paying attention closely to Martinelli. Because he could be expendable, as an example. He could be, is it that the word? Basically, he could be gotten rid of, essentially, come after the Fulham game. So, I want to keep an eye on. We got the result right, so we get just the 1 point. Bournemouth-West Ham, we predicted 2-1 in favor of Bournemouth. It ended up being 1-1 West Ham, with basically the lion's share of it by the looks of it. Bournemouth looked to be kind of scrappy with their chances. They did end up getting one, Solanke scoring that one. Bowen scored an absolute banger. Didn't see much of this game at all, all things considered. But I think that Bournemouth are going to be quite good at home. I think away from home, they're going to be much more reserved. But I think at home, they're definitely going to surprise a few teams. They're going to be on the front foot and doing well. But West Ham seemed to be in control of that. They did give away a goal, which was, a bit on the unfortunate side. So nothing really more to say about that. West Ham's fixtures get a little better in a few weeks' time. Bournemouth also aren't the greatest off the start as well. Brighton Luton got the goal margin correct. 3-0. End up being 4-1 in favor of Brighton. 2 penalties in this one. One for Luton and one for Brighton. I believe they're both fair. They should have both been penalties. Nothing really more to say on the matters there. Solly March took his goal well from the cross from Mitoma. I thought Evan Ferguson's goal was great. João Pedro's penalty was good and precise to the keeper's left-hand side. Morris's penalty was solid as well. And then the one goal that basically was, when the game was in the balance, when it was 2-1, was just a very, very just naive goal, basically, to give away by Luton. One of the defenders had it in the 18-yard box on the right-hand side of it. Kind of tried to, do a keepy up, sort of, to kind of flick it up and then, volley it away. Kind of got away from him. And then, I can't pronounce his name. Adingra basically took it from him and then smashed it in at the near post. Keeper had no chance on that either. I just can't be giving away free goals like that. Moving on to Everton and Fulham. Fulham getting the victory 1-0 here. We predicted Everton 1-0, so we got that one wrong, unfortunately. Leno makes a bunch of saves here. Gets maximum bonus points. Gets 12-pointer. I just think that he was very, very fortunate not to concede. There was also, in this one, there was a penalty shout for Everton. Or Everton scored, and they claimed there was a foul on Leno. I think Tarkowski does nothing wrong. He can't, yes, he's going up for the ball, but he can't get out of the way afterwards. He's grounded in his position. I think Leno goes down quite easily. And I think personally that the goal should stand, basically. Leno never gets control of the ball. And I think the goal should definitely stand. Not really much to talk about it. Both teams are pretty kind of average at the moment to start the season. Crystal Palace, Sheffield United got 1 point there. Predicted 2-0, ended up being 1-0. Eze looked good. Unfortunate to come away with no attacking returns. Palace defensively were pretty solid. Sheffield United are going to have to do a lot more to get some goals for themselves. I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them without Ndai. They've also lost Sander Berger, so lack of control in midfield. I think Palace are definitely going to be a bit more energetic as the season goes on, but a comfortable win for them away from home. They'll be happy with the result. Now, one result I did not predict, which was 5-1 in favor of Newcastle over Aston Villa. Predicted 2-2, got that one wrong. Yeah, Newcastle smashed Villa. They absolutely smashed them. Tyrone Mings getting injured doesn't help their cause. I think that could be a big blow for them. Pau Torres did come in for them. Yeah, Villa just looked all out of sorts, to be honest. Isak getting 2, Tonali, Wilson, Harvey Barnes goal and assist. Even Botman got an assist as well. A lot of yellow cards in this game for kicking the ball away and petulance and that sort of stuff. Watkins and Diaby did get on the score sheet though, so that's definitely good for them, considering this is probably their toughest fixture in their opening 3. So if you have them, I would say definitely hang on to them as well. Spurs, Brentford. I predicted 3-1 in favor of Spurs. Ended up being a Desmond, a 2-2. Brentford with goals from Mbomo from the penalty spot and Johan Wissa. And Spurs getting goals from Emerson Royal. As well as... Who's the other goal scorer? Can't even remember. Oh, right. Romero. Both assisted by James Maddison. So those who went Maddison, well done. Romero looked like he had a bit of a concussion, so he might not feature in the Manchester United game, depending on how long concussion protocol is. We'll have to wait and see on that one. In terms of both teams, I thought Brentford was much more organized than Spurs, for sure. I thought that Spurs, attacking-wise, were missing something of that cutting edge. Basically, if it wasn't going through James Maddison, it wasn't working. Son was very wide and not really involved. Kulusevski was not as wide at times. Still managed to do something in the game and influence it, but Son was basically a non-factor. I'd be more interested to see what it looks like with Son through the middle and like Solomon or somebody else on the left-hand side. As for Spurs, I think if you have Richarlison, I think if you have any Spurs assets, I think you probably keep them. Up against United next, but they have a good run of 3 fixtures afterwards, which is why you probably bought them in the first place. So I would say hang on to them. Chelsea-Liverpool, I got a draw correct, but I picked a 2-2 instead of a 1-1. This game could have been 2-2. Salah and Chilwell both with disallowed goals, rightly so, for offside. Ben Chilwell was basically playing striker at times, so you don't have him, definitely consider getting him. I think Salah and Jota and Diaz are going to do well versus Bournemouth this coming week. They definitely look like they could attack, but they aren't. Doesn't look like they're going to get Caicedo, and it doesn't look like they're going to get Lavia. So they're definitely going to get opened up. They can't go into the season without another midfielder playing there. They need a proper central midfielder that can play the more defensive-minded role to make up for the lack of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, and James Milner. I think Chelsea potentially looked the better team for portions of the first half. The majority of it was in favor of Liverpool, though. Second half was pretty much all Chelsea, to be honest. Klopp taking Salah off 15 minutes from time was just very weird. I didn't really understand that. Very much a defensive mindset there. Not really sure what that was about. Maybe he's trying to just lock up shop and say, hey, look, we got the point, what we came for. Let's get out of here. And he managed to do that, so not really going to criticize him much. Moving into Man United versus Wolves. Man United won. Wolves. Now, how Wolves have not scored in this game, I don't know. Onana coming out with several saves in this one, getting bonus points. Varane and Wan-Bissaka also getting on the FPL sheet, as it were. Luke Shaw still got a clean sheet for those that had him, but did get booked in the game. He does that quite a lot, to be honest. There were a couple penalty shouts in this game. One was in favor of Manchester United, and one was in favor of Wolves. The first one was basically there was a ball played back across the goal mouth, which struck Semedo on the arm. His arm was slightly chicken winged out from his body, but not enough to where they gave it a penalty. Me personally, I've seen those given, but they decided against it. I think it's a 50-50 call on that one. I think it's a bit kind of questionable. He looked like he was actively trying to keep his arm close to his body, but I think it would have been interesting to see where the flight of that ball went if he didn't have his arm there. The one that went in favor of Manchester United was a bit more controversial. Ball basically gets crossed in towards the back post, like the corner of the 6-yard box. Onana comes rushing out. He kind of does this like starfish type goalkeeper jump. Kaladzic heads the ball basically up into the air, and Onana clatters into him with his arms. Kaladzic is on the ground, rolling around. Wolves are trying to protest for a penalty. The ball ends up going out of play. And Gary O'Neill gets booked because he thinks the referee's coming over to look at the monitor. When you actually look back at the replay, a lot of the actual commentators and stuff that I've seen on multiple broadcasts, they haven't actually looked at the picture here. So Kaladzic goes up to head the ball, but there's a Wolves player behind him that actually impedes his jump and causes him to have a bad contact on the actual heading of the ball, and he doesn't actually head it where he wants to. Onana then, basically probably half a second later, after jumping in the air, does collide with Kaladzic. 100%. Tim Howard on broadcast said that he's seen goalkeepers do that millions of times, and it's never going to get called as a foul. And the reason being, I think that it wasn't called was because if you actually look at Onana's hand, so we've seen goalkeepers where they, like Lloris, I believe it was last season, he came out, he went for a punch, and he punched the player, was very late, nowhere near as late as what Onana was, and they did end up giving it a penalty. Onana comes out more in a more starfish type manner. We've seen the likes of Peter Schmeichel crafted over many years, where he comes up, makes himself big, really puts his arms, kind of wide, kind of makes his body really big. So Onana looks like that's what he's decided to do. He's coming out and kind of putting his arms up like a field goal type thing to basically prevent the ball from going past him. Because I think what Kaladzic was looking to do, based on the way he had his body angled, which looked like he was trying to angle it back so he can head it down onto like the 6-yard box for somebody to just come in and tap in. Which there were a couple Wolves players in the vicinity. And I think in this instance, I think they were right to basically say, well, Onana's only a split second late. The ball has already been hit. It's basically a 50-50 ball for both the goalkeeper and the defenders to go into. One of the Wolves defenders one of the Wolves players impedes Kaladzic's jump in the first place, as he's going up to, like, they clatter into each other. Onana then clatters into Kaladzic afterwards, but Onana doesn't go and punch him in the face. He goes to basically block it like this, and then you can't, like when a goalkeeper jumps up in the air, you can't stop forward momentum. You can't just, bend time and just pause it and be like, okay, let me get myself down now. That's not how it works. I can see if he had come out and punched him straight in the head and just completely missed, like how Lloris did, what was it, last season before last, whenever it was, or that sort of thing, or he was like super late, like he headed it down as he was coming down, and then Onana just kind of just punched him in the face. But that wasn't the case at all. He literally goes for like more of like a volleyball style block where he jumps straight up in the air, and his forward momentum takes his arms through Kaladzic. So me personally, I think both were right to be considered not clear and obvious. Semedo does look like he's trying to keep his arm in towards his body, and Onana makes a genuine attempt to win the ball. He does not try to punch it. He tries to basically like block it as if you're trying to block a spike in volleyball. That's how I personally see it. There's a lot of fans that are going to say, oh, well, this is, how does he get away with this? The Tarkowski one, 100% should not have been disallowed. He does nothing wrong, basically. with Brighton and Luton. I think both are definitely penalties for sure. Oh, lastly, I forgot to mention the red card in the Burnley-Man City game. It looks to me like it's way worse slowed down. I can see why they've given it, but come on, man. It's a bad challenge, but like slowing it down makes it way worse, to be honest. And then getting back to Man United Wolves, I think Wolves, you're still a wait and see. Man United, if you still have assets from them, wait, because Wolves didn't give United much space. Spurs will definitely give United space. So that'll be interesting. We got the correct results, so the 1 point there. So we got a total of 6 correct results, so we get 6 points, 1 for each correct result. Clean sheet, we picked Brighton, so we didn't get that one. Sam Johnston, we predicted as our goalkeeper. Got that one right. He was on our bench boost. Lewis Dunk, I don't believe was involved in anything. No, he was not, so unfortunately that didn't work out. Leandro Trossard, I don't believe was involved in anything. No, he was definitely a very differential pick. And Johan Vissa was involved. So we got 2 out of 5 on our differential picks there. So we keep those in our notebook throughout the season here as a kind of see how we did, basically. Just kind of want to kind of look at. Right, moving on to the team for our predictions for this week. We're going to talk about the games. So let's move this off the screen. Put the predictions up on the screen here. So these are my predictions for this week. I've gone with Forest to win 1-0 over Sheffield United. I just don't see how Sheffield United are going to score. I think Awanine, Morgan Gibbs White, spoilers, they're differential picks this week, could be very, very good. And I think Forest at home are definitely good for at least 1 goal. So I've gone for them to win. Fulham, Brentford, I just don't think Fulham are as secure at the back. I think Brentford, had they had somebody up front like Calvert-Lewin being fit, or somebody who can provide that bit of dynamism up front, like how Brentford have with Vissa and Ebomo, they would have potentially been found out. I still think Fulham are good for a goal here in this one, because they always are. They always have a good set-piece threat, as well as good delivers of the ball from dead ball situations. But I think Brentford will win this one. I've gone with 2-1. Liverpool-Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth will definitely get a goal in this one. I can't see Liverpool, unless they sign a DM, keeping a clean sheet in any game, really. But I've gone Liverpool 3-1. I think their firepower is going to be too much for Bournemouth. Wolves-Brighton. I think Wolves, I mean, it just seems like they're trying to score and they just can't. I think Brighton is going to be the same way, but except Brighton's not going to be nowhere near as bad in transition as United were this evening. I think that Brighton will be much quicker on the ball, much more energetic, and I think Wolves will struggle, and I've given Brighton the 2-0 win. Spurs, Man United, I think could be a repeat of the Brentford game. A 2-2 back and forward style game could be very interesting. I've given it, a 2-2. If I had to pick who was going to win this one, I'm probably going to side with Spurs, to be honest. I'm going to go with 3-2. I thought they played better than United overall. They played much better opposition, in my opinion. I think Brentford and Wolves, if they squared up right now, Brentford would easily beat Wolves. So if I had to pick, I would say 3-2 Spurs, but I'm going to go with 2-2 and sit on the fence on this one. Man City, Newcastle. Man City coming off a very comfortable win. Newcastle thrashing Villa. I think it's going to be close. I've gone with 2-1 in favor of Man City just because they have Norwegian robot man known as Erling Haaland up front, and I think he's just too good to contain at home. Villa-Everton. Villa's defense could be a bit weak, seemingly this season. They are going to be a bit more attack-minded, it seems, under Unai Emery. At home, they've done much better than they have away from home. I think Everton might get a goal in this one. Maybe it's just because of maybe not as much chemistry as they want at the back, especially with Tyrone Mings now being injured long-term. But I still think Villa will win this one. I'm going to go with 2-1 Aston Villa. West Ham, Chelsea. I think Chelsea will With Caicedo coming into the team, he'll be playing this coming week. They'll set up with him instead of Conor Gallagher. I think having him break up attacks, which is something that we saw Conor Gallagher not being able to do as much in the Liverpool game. Basically, it was 3 Chelsea defenders and Conor Gallagher, and if Conor Gallagher ever lost the ball, there was like a 40-yard gap between him and like everyone else that wasn't like one of those 3 defenders, and they would have just been broke on easily every time. With Caicedo, a bit of a different story. He covers ground quite well. With him and Enzo, the 225 million pound midfield or whatever it's going to be, something astronomically crazy. They're going to be very, very tough to play against. They're going to be very good on the ball, very good breaking up play. And it was kind of a blueprint of what we think Chelsea are going to play like, because basically Gallagher played the deeper role, which you would have thought Enzo would have played, but Enzo was much more advanced. He's super, super smooth on the ball, and I think he could provide a bunch of problems for West Ham in midfield. If you just have Souček and James Ward-Prowse, who's newly signed for West Ham, I think that's still too light in terms of defensive solidity in there. You would need a third player. Maybe like a McTominay as an example to kind of shut that down and go like 3 more defensive-minded players, and then leave the likes of Bowen, Ben Rama, Antonio to kind of get on the break what they can, basically. I've gone with 2-0 in favor of Chelsea. And then Crystal Palace, Arsenal. Arsenal, away from home, they seem to concede sometimes as well. I think Palace may be good for a goal on the break. Palace will give Arsenal the ball. Arsenal have the majority of possession, but last season they didn't do too well at Selhurst Park. From what I remember, I think they lost 3-0, if I remember correctly. And that was like kind of in the run, and I could be wrong on that one. Maybe that was 2 seasons ago. But I don't remember Arsenal doing well at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace are a good team. Arsenal need to shape up much more offensively. I've still given them the nod in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 in favor of Arsenal. Clean sheet and differential picks. Clean sheet I've gone for Nottingham Forest. I've also gone for Gibbs White and Awani, 2.5% and 0.6% differential picks this week for the Forest faithful. I just think they're going to win, to be honest. I think they do quite well at home. This is the type of game they need to be winning. And I think Gibbs White, it was so good versus Arsenal, all things considered. And Awani, now that he looks to be potentially back fit, he did have a bit of an ankle issue, so hopefully he can get ready in time for this one, because if he does, for Forest fans, that's a big boost for them, and would provide another option in the cheaper budget forward bracket, which is 6.5 million for his price point. Gibbs White at 6 million could be great as well. Sanchez I've gone in goal for Chelsea. Newly signed, 4.5 million was his price bracket. Kept us going on loan to Real Madrid. So 4.5 million for the Chelsea goalkeeper. Seems pretty good versus a West Ham team that only really scored 1 from way outside the box, basically. And then Pau Torres just seems to be quite standard. They're at home to Everton this week. Tyrone Mings is injured long term. Just makes the most sense to me. So that's what I've gone with my clean sheet and differential picks and predictions for the week. For the team this week, though, we've gone with a 3-5-2. We've got Pickford in goal as it stands. Chilwell, Estupiñán, Saliba, Foden, Mitoma, Rashford, Saka with the vice captaincy, Martinelli, João Pedro, and Erling Haaland with the captaincy, with Solanke, Luke Shaw, and Joachim Andersen on the bench. I think this is going to remain unchanged. I believe I'm going to keep it this way. The only thing I could potentially consider doing is if I believe that Phil Foden is not going to be involved, although with De Bruyne's injury that potentially increases his potential, I could potentially swap him out, and maybe I can go for the likes of a Gibbs White as an example and play him. There is also an option where I can go a bit more boring, and I can go for the likes of a Matt Turner as an example. In goal. So it would just be something like get rid of Johnston, put in Matt Turner, and then play Matt Turner in the fixtures where they have good ones. So it'd be like Sheffield United at home, Burnley at home, maybe Brentford at home, Luton at home. So I need to play Pickford in game week 8, 6, 4, and 3. Pickford in game week 3. Sheffield United away. He's also got Wolves at home in 4. Sorry, wrong way around. Luton and Bournemouth in 7 and 8. So I think he's quite good for that rotation. Another thing to kind of think about potentially is a wild card. So let's do a little segment on that here. So a wild card could be very interesting for Game Week 2, especially for those that bench boosted like myself. Now, which players would I potentially get rid of? Well, let's find out. I would get rid of Johnston. I would get rid of Pickford. I would get rid of Joachim Andersen. I'd probably get rid of Luke Shaw, even though they kept a clean sheet. I would possibly get rid of Saliba. I would possibly get rid of Phil Foden. I would get rid of Solanke. So what am I actually changing here? For the most part, I'm not really changing too much. It would be, 7 players in total here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. One of them would be a backup goalkeeper. One of them would be a starting defender. One of them would be a bench defender. One would be a non-playing defender. One would potentially be a midfielder that we could swap in and out. Maybe there's something I can do here where I can go for the likes of a Gibbs White for 1 week and then go for something else. But the majority of them, I'm not really changing too much. So I don't think I need to go for it. Like, what would I change? I would probably put, Turner because he's 4.0. We'll go on the Onana hype train. We'll chuck him in there. In defense, we got Reece James playing wing back, so let's throw him in there. Why not? We got Jackson. Yeah, let's throw him in there. He looked good, even though he only had 1 point. And Bomo scored, so yeah, let's throw him in there too. Why not? 4.0 playing defender. I'll just put Bayer as an example. And I'll put who would be a 4.0 defender. I mean, I could even put a 5.0 defender. It doesn't really matter. It'd be Kabore would be the other one. I would have 2 million in the bank to do whatever I wanted. And Bomo could also be a Martin Odegaard as an example if I wanted to go triple Arsenal midfield. It could be Kai Havertz. It could be Bruno Fernandes, who didn't look all that great today. I could wait. I could also put in Liverpool players. I can go for, let's say if this was Salah. How would I downgrade everyone else? Well, I'm going fairly cheap in defense. I'd probably have to go Jackson down to a 4.5. So let's say an Archer as an example. I then have to find 1.5 million somewhere. That might be... yeah, it's a bit difficult to do. Have to downgrade Martinelli to a 6.5 probably. But then I'd only have 1 Arsenal player. And they have Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home, Everton away, Bournemouth at home in the next 6 fixtures. So probably don't want to do that. So that definitely is an option. I think it's just basically kind of see what happens in the Super Cup. If I see that Phil Foden doesn't start in that, then maybe he gets the nod versus Newcastle. But it could just easily be a goalkeeper transfer. Moving in, like for game week 3 is basically when Chelsea have the really good fixtures. How do I want to kind of work that? Well, I basically want a situation where I have, where I basically want to add another Chelsea player if I can. At this current moment in time, João Pedro's going to play, Haaland's going to play, Rashford's going to play, Foden's going to play, Mitoma, Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, Estupiñán, and Chilwell. Where does Luke Shaw go? Luke Shaw has Forest at home. That could be a clean sheet. So when I get to, if I bring up FPL.team, let me bring up a new window here. Plug in my team. There we go. So that's the team. I'd put in Chilwell this week over Luke Shaw. Although the expected points went down, which is weird, but is what it is. So let's say I did do a transfer that was like, hey, let's get rid of Johnston and bring in Turner. As an example, we could then play Turner versus Sheffield United. Apparently expected points went down again, which is interesting, but it is what it is. Then the following week, we put Pickford back in goal versus Wolves. So we'd have Chilwell, Luton at home, Stupinian, West Ham at home, Saliba, Fulham at home, Arsenal, Fulham at home. You know, got a bunch of players at home, and then we got City Boys playing Sheffield United. Do I want to get rid of Foden versus Sheffield United? I still got Luke Shaw. I can put in the team here as well. Like, there's a bunch of problems, basically. Like, I would probably play Shaw over Saliba. Probably. And then, could I use the extra 0.5 to upgrade Pickford? Well, by the time I go to potentially get Onana if I wanted to, or maybe that transfer is Pickford out to Sanchez, maybe. But am I blocking myself from a Reece James and a Jackson? Maybe Mudryk comes into the equation. This is very difficult. Game week 4 onwards is a bit easier. Man United and Arsenal play each other. You know, and the thing kind of potentially fixes itself. So I can get rid of Shaw here. Maybe I downgrade Martinelli. Maybe he's not getting as much minutes as I want. Even though he does have Everton and Bournemouth away in the next 3 after that. You know, maybe I just have to play it a bit more reactively at the moment. But I think the most common thing that you can see a lot of players doing that did have the bench boost, that didn't start with Matt Turner, are just going to get Turner and play him versus Sheffield United at home. Because he does rotate quite well with Jordan Pickford. The other option would just to be get Sanchez, but that doesn't increase the amount of money I have in the bank at all. The other option could also be to just get rid of Phil Foden if I think he's not going to play. Man City do have a boatload of fixtures that are very good, and having somebody from there would be good, who is definitely involved. Maybe that involves Alvarez, but maybe that's a wait and see until... Because João Pedro at 5.5 million, we could potentially just bench him from time to time. So in game week 2, if I knew that like Alvarez starting versus Sheffield United away, maybe we chuck him in there. But again, we have Saliba still here, Fulham at home. Bunch of midfielders that all have good home fixtures. Maybe Foden might be the one to go. We'll have to wait and see. And also Brentford start their good run. So Mbomo is going to be hot on the agenda. Crystal Palace and Bournemouth at home. Yes, he has Newcastle away. Then Everton at home, Forest away. It looks pretty good for Brentford. So it's going to be one of those ones where potentially, maybe it might be that an injury is what I need to basically kind of make my decision for me. But as it stands now, I don't really know what to do in terms of transfers. Maybe it is just a roll. Maybe it is just a roll and just play Chilwell and hope Pickford gets something away at Villa, who only scored 1 versus Newcastle. I don't want to play Johnston because, yes, I have triple Arsenal. Likelihood of a 0-0 is probably basically 0. I think Arsenal will definitely score versus Palace. I have them score at least 2. Maybe Pickford gets something. I mean, what did I predict? I predict basically the same scoreline for both goalkeepers. So again, it's a bit of a toss-up, to be honest. If I put Johnston in, does the expected points go down on the FPL team? They actually go up, to be honest. Maybe it's because he plays for a slightly better team. Not too sure. But that's probably the only thing I'm thinking of at the moment. Bench boost was quite successful. And then it's about kind of thinning the bench out. And even like in game week 3, like if you look at the team, like who do I replace to put in Jackson? As an example, like if I'm downgrading Phil Foden, I'm probably downgrading him to someone who's quite good. So maybe it is a situation where I do like like a 1 week punt type thing. But am I getting rid of Phil Foden before our home game? Is the crazy thing. It's like if I wanted Phil Foden out, like I could bring in a Diaby as an example. Diaby's another one. Would have Everton at home, but I'd want to play Diaby next week as well. So maybe it is like a Gibbs White type situation. Go for a punt. Don't have to necessarily play him. Play him in game week 5. Let's see how that kind of goes down. Gibbs White home Sheffield United. I'll play him in that kind of just play Pickford and just kind of just see how it goes. Then we have a lot of money in the bank. He would be a differential for us. Game week 3. Gibbs White is Man United away. That's not good. We could then sub in Luke Shaw for Saliba potentially here if we think Fulham's going to score. Or we could just play Saliba, or we can get rid of Solanke and bring in Jackson. Jackson would come in for Gibbs White and play. We play a 3-4-3, run that. Then we still have 1 million in the bank. Then Man United and Arsenal play each other. This is where we could potentially also hop on to another Chelsea defender, maybe a Reece James here. That's possibly something. We can also play Joachim Andersen in there. United attackers, as well as Arsenal attackers, we're just going to play against each other. João Pedro versus Newcastle at home. There's arguments to play Joachim Andersen over Estupiñán here. Johnston and Pickford is a bit of a coin toss. Sheffield United away versus Wolves at home. And then in game week 5, when Gibbs White has Burnley at home, Mitoma has Man United away, as does João Pedro. So maybe we throw in Gibbs White here. We still have a transfer to utilize as well. Saliba could potentially come in for João Pedro. And maybe defensively, Estupiñán isn't looking as good. Aston Villa away, Man United away, Liverpool at home, Man City away. Maybe this is where we could potentially tweak it a bit and bring in somebody whose fixtures are starting to be good. There was a team here that is starting to have good. I want to say it's Kieran Trippier that has good fixtures here. Yes, it would be Kieran Trippier. So we could put in, if we would need to use 2 transfers to do it. We can go for a Sven Botman if we wanted to replace Joachim Andersen, as an example. If we wanted to keep Estupiñán and play him, so we could go, not Andersen, Sven Botman. Put him in there just to kind of have something in there. Bench all our Brighton players versus Man United away. Game week 6, putting all our Brighton players back in. This is where, this is North London derby, so Estupiñán would come in over Saliba. Gibbs White would come out for Mitoma for sure. And then it's tough. I mean, I want to play João Pedro in this. João Pedro probably almost certainly plays over Botman, but I mean, Botman still has Sheffield United away. Still is a pretty good fixture. Johnston probably comes in for Fulham at home. Chelsea's fixtures are still quite good for the next few, but I do want to get in some type of Newcastle attacker, and if it is an Isak or Wilson, it could be quite good. So I'm looking for something in that realm in there. But then again, then we have a huge headache here. We have a bunch of good fixtures. Pickford would come in versus Luton. So again, maybe that is the option. Go for the 1 week punt, downgrade some funds in midfield. Maybe that's the kind of the way to go for it, as like kind of a one-off punt. If we think that, like, if we see Phil Foden get 90 minutes versus Sevilla, then maybe we think he's going to be benched. My options, I don't particularly like. I mean, I could play Solanke. I could play Solanke versus Liverpool away because Liverpool's defense isn't all that good. It is an option. It is definitely an option. So one thing to definitely consider. But this is the team currently as it stands. We got Pickford in goal. Chilwell, Estupiñán, Saliba, Foden, Mitoma, Rashford, Saka, Martinelli, Erling Haaland captain, João Pedro, Johnston, Solanke, Shaw, and Anderson on the bench as they were in our bench boost. We did really well off the start. We did really, really well. So hopefully we keep those rolling. We'll post our team earlier this time. We will be doing a deadline stream on Thursday evening as well, so make sure to check that out. It's going to be similar time, assuming my internet is fine. If not, it'll be one of these type videos, which I will post as a kind of premiere, and then I'll be in the chat basically for it. So before we sign off, let's talk about our sponsor for the stream. And that is Fantasy Football Scout. Make sure to check them out. They have 30% off in preseason. I'm not sure if that's still running, but even if it isn't, make sure to check them out. You have all kinds of exclusive articles. You have the preseason information to show minutes played and that sort of stuff. You get predicted lineups. You get all kinds of data from Opta. It's fantastic. Make sure to go check it out. You can build your own stats tables. It's great. Heat maps. You get the lot. fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Make sure to check it out. Use the link in the About section if you're here on Twitch. This is normally when I do the stream. This is a video, however, so this will also be on YouTube. So make sure to check that in the description below. It is also in my bio over on Twitter. So make sure to check that out as well. Now, let's move over to the big screen. So, thank you all for watching this video. I know it wasn't an actual stream, and we did go for, looks like over 50 minutes, to be honest. So, make sure to, or at least around 50 minutes. So, very, very good stream / video. I'll make sure to put, like, timestamps or, like, there's another name for them. But basically, if you look on down below, it'll be, like, the kind of time slots or whatever it's called. It's not the actual ones that you see on the video, but sometimes they do it slightly different. But make sure to check those portions out for whatever ones you want to look at. Maybe I decided to do a video midweek. It is a slightly shorter week, so we'll have to kind of see how things play out. But we're definitely doing a stream on Thursday, so make sure to come check us out for that, assuming the internet's going to be working well, and hopefully it is. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, follow, share this, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Pilot Flame 226 on all platforms. And until the next one, take care.